Hello and welcome to the brand new season of Motorbike TV. Now there's lots of changes to the show, the first one of which is our new co-presenter.
Well, thank you very much. It's lovely to be here, I have to say, but sadly, I'm not the only new person on this show. I have to share that with someone else.
Yeah, and after her amazing segment on the Isle of Man last year, how could we not invite her back? It's Lara Small.
Woo! Thanks, team. It is genuinely great to be here and work with this genuinely brilliant team. Now let's have a look at what's coming up in season 2.
She's lying, isn't she? I can know she's lying. It's going to be 6 hours of pure adrenaline. Whoever wins, because it's all about winning.
It's
really?
100% about
It's
winning.
not about taking part, is
No,
it?
it's 100% about winning, and I don't care whatever methods we use, we're going to win it. So one of the other big changes to the show is that we have a brand new home, Woodrow's MC. Now Woodrow's MC, along with Dunlop, are both our production partners. And I do want to say a big thank you to both of them because without them, the show wouldn't be here.
And as great as it is to have Charley on board, I want to talk a little bit more about Lara. Now, for those of you who don't know, Lara is a racer. She is a racer born and bred. And so we decided to follow her on one of her race weekends.
One thing that you can forget is this is what could happen, and it does. It's bad when someone gets hurt. You feel then, but crashes are quite common. You know, we race close to the limit and we don't sit in a cage, so it does happen. I know what I'm going out to do. It's testing, so sometimes people get carried away. The last time I was here was about a year ago, so I've not done too much Alton time. Had a pretty good lap here when I was racing, like a 150. So I think when I get my timer on, I'll just try and get it dialed in and yeah, keep it clean. Like Alton's the closest thing to a road circuit, so I've heard, so it's quite tight in some places, pretty bumpy. But there's a lot going on. I find it's quite a complicated circuit. It's quite a long lap, and there's a lot of things that get thrown at you. But like places like Deer's Leap, where it's just, well, basically pin it over a blind crest. You know the track's still there, and you're going to be fine. But it's still like I'm trying to be on 100% throttle, and I'm on like 90. And then Shell Oil's corner, you're pretty much probably 6th gear down to 2nd, like bang, 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 and then tipping it into the kind of camber in Shell Oil's is just mind-blowing. It's a great, great corner. So I'm hoping to just warm up, keep the first few sessions nice and clean, figure out where I am. The track's a little bit wet at the moment, so we can't really send it. So it's just more just sniffing, feeling my way around, and then we'll see how we get on at lunch.
Why do you come here on your own time for free and help out Lara? Get away from home. No, it's a joke. No, I love coming here. I think just meeting new people and being around bikes and just get involved. I don't think they could do without me. But I just want to make sure that Lara's gonna do right, and you know, the bike is running and she's got everything what she needs. So yeah, I love it.
So I've been quite lucky in having a genuinely brilliant group of people to come and help me race and probably get shouted at and just have spanners thrown at them and then bringing my bike back together. So I've got this brilliant bunch of people who just keep turning up to racing, and I found Dan on a Honda Africa day of all days. Just ended up sitting next to him before we went out for adventures with that team, and just got chatting. And he was like, "What do you do?" I was like, "I race bikes, and do you want to come along?" And pretty much that's what happened. Dan came along and started getting stuck in when I'd done some bad parking. So Dan, we'd like to officially award you your Army Motorsport team gear. Hey! I'd like to be a part of the team. Because I'm trying to learn this circuit, just today I'm just thinking about memorising my gears, because it's been a while. Whereas if I was at Donington, which I literally know by the back of my hand, I would be, depending on the weather conditions, just trying to go faster. Which corner am I going to try and improve on? What? Have I got my braking marker right? Is my tip-in point right? Am I looking at the right thing on the exit? So there's a lot, actually, probably too much. There's not, I probably should do is just smile and go and enjoy it. But what ends up happening is, because I'm so competitive and we're here as racers who are quite competitive, we forget what a privilege this is, and we get to just go out and razz around the best circuits in the UK and have a giggle about that. But what we all like is not this bit as much. We just like the elbow to elbow fight for apexes or beating each other on the brakes. It's like almost like the interaction that gets the adrenaline flowing. Right. Yeah. Do not spin it. Do not spin it. I've already just put it into second. I've got to get back to racing. God.
Adjusting her brake bias, so nothing stressful.
No, stressful nothing.
Have fun.
I'm off. Thanks, on. See ya. Daddy.
Since a little booby at Donington, I'm a bit more acutely aware of the radio and what it's doing. So when I was going round on like my 4th lap when the bike was at temperature, I got a splash of water. And sometimes you go, right, is it just suddenly raining at that part of the track? Because it can happen. Or have I gone through a massive puddle? But typically it's dried out there now. So I was like, so I was a bit concerned. So I came into the pit lane and wiped the water, and it was on the inside of my windscreen. There was actually too much water in the expansion tank in the first place, plus the lid wasn't on. Therefore, I got spat with water. So you end up like, you're at max chat, like 120 miles an hour, and you get this of water in your face. You're like, that ain't right. So came in, and this is what testing's about. We realised what the problem was. Nothing's major leaking from the rest of the radiator, so we're fine. So we're just draining the expansion tank, and we're back out on track in the next session.
When you hear about people, when you're just about to go out and you hear that someone had an off, does that like worry you at all, or is it just
You kind of no. I know what I'm going out to do. It's testing, so sometimes people get carried away. I think it's interesting to know why they crashed, but we'd never know that quickly. But no, this is what could happen, and it does. You want to know, like, it's bad when someone gets hurt. You feel then, but crashes are quite common. You know, we race closer to the limit and we don't sit in a cage, so it does happen.
Have you seen her come by? So we've got a red flag. We were walking our way around to this corner, so we haven't seen Lara yet. Hopefully she'll come past or is already in the pits. Oh, is that her there? But always a worrying moment, and someone's had a bad day at least.
Jeez, Lara. Oh my God, clearly you are okay, but jeez, that was friggin' gnarly.
Well, it wasn't my best weekend ever, but you'll see more of that in the next episode.
And now we're going over to a new segment that the boys are calling 10 in 10.
So this is our new interview section, and this is called 10 in 10. So the premise is 10 questions in 10 minutes. So if you do your maths, that's 60 seconds per question.
Said no. Little baby said,
No, it's not. No. 10 and 10, 60 seconds per question. Now, it's going to be the same 10 questions for everybody. In fact, it's going to be the same 9 questions. And the 10th one is going to be specific to each person we talk to. Now, the 60 seconds is really important because if someone can't speak for the whole 60 seconds, they're going to be left with an embarrassing silence. So they're going to have to fill the rest of the 60 seconds. If they're going over the 60 seconds, we're going to interrupt them with a timer, and they're going to have to just stop. Now, as it's our first one, and as Charlie is our new presenter, you're going to be our first interviewee, or my first interviewee.
oh, no one told me about this.
No. Right then. So, Charlie, our
First question would be a good idea.
First
'cause
question.
You could go 9 to 1 if you want. But
No, we'll just go straight with the
Okay.
10 and 10. No, the questions
I'm
are
very
rubbish.
nervous
This first question's rubbish, because I know who you are. So the first question, who are you, and what do you do?
oh my God, I could have took 60 seconds about myself. How fantastic. Is it only 60 seconds?
You get 60 seconds.
Gosh, well, my name is Charley Boorman, and I suppose I'm mostly known for riding around the world with, it's usually Ewan and Thingy, or Ewan and Charlie. So I'm known for that, and because of doing long way round, I ended up doing long way round and long way up, and I did a whole bunch of other TV shows as well. Raced to Dakar. I did the Dakar Rally.
Have you done the Dakar
I
Rally?
have done the Dakar Rally. Only did 5 days there and then smashed myself up. And then I've done a whole lot of other TV shows as well, and written some books and stuff like that. So I suppose that's who I am, really. And hopefully contributed something to television to get people interested in motorbikes and say to people that if two actors can do it, anyone can do it, really.
Perfect.
Perfect timing, eh?
The other point is my question has to be part of the 60 seconds.
Oh,
and
okay.
I can't
Well,
ask
get
you,
on with the
and I can't ask
taking
you another
out.
question. Okay, right, second question. How did you get into motorcycles?
I grew up in Ireland. My father's a film director. He directed films like Deliverance, Excalibur, Hope and Glory, Emerald Forest, lots and lots of movies. And when he wasn't making movies in around the world, when we used to travel with him, we lived in Ireland. And my father was big into horses, so I used to ride horses all the time. And then a guy called Tommy Rochford, who had a Mako 400, which was the bollocks in those days. I kept hearing this two-stroke engine, and eventually I found him, asked him to let me have a go, and I was too small for the bike, so he put it in first gear. I jumped on, and he pushed me going, and I rode around and around and around until I fell off, and that was it. I was hooked for life. Ooh. Oh.
Right. What is your favourite bike and why?
I suppose someone asked me once, do I have any regrets in life? And I don't really. I think all the mistakes, everything that's happened is the thing that makes you who you are today and why I'm here. But I did say that the only regrets I do have are the bikes I've sold, and I wish I'd kept them. Like I remember, first thing that comes to mind is an XR 600R that I crashed and wiped out my GSX-R 750 in London, popping a wheelie, and I fucked up, and then the bike hit a wall, and so I got the XR 600R, which was an amazing bike to ride. I mean, that thing was brutal to start. I mean, it would take your leg off if you didn't keep your eye on it. But so that, I think.
Oh, next question. What is your favourite place to ride and why?
Favourite place to ride? I think it's a difficult one, that, because there's so many places that I've been that I've loved riding. I think one of the places that springs to mind is probably Mongolia. When Ewan and I were doing Long Way Round, you know, we were looking for adventure, and we were looking for something to really whet our appetite, and
eating sheep's bollocks.
Yeah, eating sheep's bollocks. Yes, that's right. Yeah, the food challenge. But I think Mongolia, because it was the most remote, and it was the first time on the journey that I really realised that we were actually on an adventure, and that you know, if you made a mistake, it had big consequences. So if you hurt yourself in Mongolia, especially where we were, it was 2 or 3 days to the hospital, and so it kind of focuses the mind. But it was incredible, and the people, that's what makes all these journeys, are the people you meet.
So in a similar kind of vein, but what has been your best moment on a bike?
My best moment on a bike. I think one of the moments I'm most proud of is when I decided to do the Dakar Rally. I'd always wanted to be. I'd raced a lot of enduros and stuff like that, but I wanted to have a race number. I wanted to in a race that really counted, you know. And I'd always, ever since I was a little kid, I'd always watched the Dakar Rally, hugely popular in Ireland, the Dakar Rally, and I finally managed to convince some people so that I could do it. And I remember we were leaving from Lisbon in Portugal in 2006, and I remember riding up onto the podium with Simon Pavey, and we were introduced to this extremely drunk crowd because it was New Year's Eve, and they said, you know, here you go. And I remember getting up and then thinking.
Okay. What has been your worst moment on a bike?
Worst moment? Crashing is always bad. I think I've crashed a lot over the years. But, you know, I think crashing, you'd never be afraid of crashing because, you know, actually breaking bones doesn't hurt. It's only seconds afterwards that it hurts. So I suppose that's not too bad. I think probably the worst crash I had, I had a crash in 2016, which was very bad. I smashed my legs up really badly. I think it took 2 years and 17 operations to walk again. And then when I finally managed to get back on a motorbike, I went off to Africa to do one of my motorcycle tours that I do down there, take people through Africa. I had another massive crash, done much worse than the first one. I had a big head injury, was out for 24 hours, smashed myself up even worse, big head injury, brain bleed, brain swell. So that was probably that one.
Okay, different line of questioning now. So, who are your heroes and influences?
Heroes. I think, I suppose, well, it's difficult to know. I think my father is a big hero of mine. I think if you look at his movies that he's made over the years, he always made movies in very difficult places, very difficult locations. When he did the film Deliverance, it was all on rivers and rapids and stuff, and then he was in the South Pacific, and we made a film together in Brazil. So he had this real sense of adventure, and I think and travel, and I think I got that bug off him. So I think him and Barry Sheen. There's a great story where Barry Sheen, I caught him trying to chat up my wife and asking her. He said to her, "Do you want to come to Australia with me?" And he doesn't, but I do.
Okay, question 8. So, what do you do when you're not on a bike?
What do I do? Well, there's not a lot of time, really. I ride my motorbike every day, really, and I have a little bit of land now, so I sort of knock around on that. At the moment, I have a bit of land, so I spend most of my time going around with a wheelbarrow and a lawnmower, cutting everything at the moment. So how my life has changed, but I think that, and then I travel a lot. So normally, apart from this last 3 years where there hasn't been much traveling, I'm normally away 6 or 7 months of the year. So the last couple of years has been lovely to be at home, actually, and spending time with family. Although it's a bit late because my children have left the coop now. So but it's nice.
Okay. Last but one, what is next for you?
Next, there's always something. I've got so many things I'd still like to do. I'm just off to Australia in a minute. I do a motorcycle tour there. I take a bunch of people from Melbourne to Sydney via Tasmania, and then I'm off to I do a motorcycle tour from Cape Town to Victoria Falls through South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and we do all that. And then I've got this TV show that's coming up for next year. So I'll start filming in the spring. So there's a lot going on. And then Ewan and I are talking about doing another long way. So that should be on the cards as well. So there's a lot going on, but like all these things, you've got to try and convince people to give you the money to make them, and that's always the hardest thing. I think the TV should. Oh, there we go.
I have to say, as the interviewer, this is really difficult because I'm desperate to ask more questions, but I'm not allowed to because that's the rules. Right, the very last question. So this is one that is specific to each person we're going to interview you. So you wanted us to ask you something about some restaurant place.
Oh, restaurant. Yes. Well, I started doing. I did MasterChef a few years ago, and did okay. I got into the final with Jodie Kidd and Sophie Thompson, and just got pipped at the beginning. So my love of food has been because of my mother as well. She's an amazing cook, and then I always wanted a restaurant that you could ride to on a motorbike that had a decent cup of coffee or had a decent place. So we started this restaurant in London called the Bike Shed, and that's been successful. And we've just opened up another one in Los Angeles, which is much bigger and is a real nice place to go to for.
There we go. That, Charlie, was your 10 in 10. Thank you for that.
God, it just went so quickly. I could talk about myself forever.
Thank you.
That was a joke, by the way. No, it's not actually a joke. It's true. Well, it's a joke, but I don't want to sound, Anyway, but there we go.
Yeah. Have you done the Dakar Rally by any chance?
Funny enough, I've got this slideshow on my phone. Hey, look, here it is. I can show you. Okay.
This year, we sadly weren't able to make our sister show, Adventure Bike TV.
And that absolutely sucks. But what we were able to do is still one of its most loved segments, Tales from the Trail.
Now, just in case you're not aware of what Tales from the Trails is, it's me, producer Tom, and Sam from Adventure Bike TV going on a trail trip or tarmac trip, basically taking the piss out of each other for 3 or 4 days. So, the brief for Tales from the Trails this year was 2 parts. First part was we have to come on scramblers, scrambler bikes.
Which
As
I
opposed to
did.
scrambler cars. Well, maybe I'm tired as well. So Tom did, and Sam and I
Look
felt-
why you're not starting again.
It's like he's given up. He really.
It's some amusing stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Come on. Tales from the Trails, 2022. Okay. So that's how it's going to be. Come on. We are 20 seconds into filming, and this is how it's going to be again. After 18 long months, that actually aches quite a lot. So the brief was we had to come on scramblers,
Which I did.
and Sam and I failed miserably, so we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
And the second was come to the Peak District.
Yep.
So we're in Matlock, Bath, that incredibly well-known gathering place of motorcyclists.
You mean that place I've never heard of?
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, these two never heard of it.
No.
Utter,
So popular.
utter
So popular, 1 in
Philistines.
3 people have heard of it.
So that's where we've met. It's kind of the gateway to the big passes in the Lake District, like Snake Pass, etc. It positions itself as being like the seaside, but not at the seaside.
Which, to be fair, I get.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that. It has a seaside feel to it.
Has
It's
a
because
feel.
there's fish and chip shops and
Yes.
amusement
Yes.
amusement shops.
And there's free parking for bikes. It is incredibly popular with bikes. So we've got 1 scrambler and 2 not scramblers, which, as I said, we'll talk about later. In Matlock, Bath, we've got 3 days motorbiking around here, and our first stop. So I'm not going to tell you exactly where we're going to go, but you will find it really interesting, and it's not to do with history or where I've lived.
Oh Jesus!
It is.
All right, it is. It's going to be
You're going to love it.
It's going to be a piece of history and where you live. It's not one
all
or
in
the other,
one
it's
area.
both. Yeah. So fascinating.
Well, apart from Tom, it's beautiful. Yeah. That's very nice, very pretty. Bike's good as well.
Anyone would think you were here to actually present stuff.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm presenting stuff. Yeah.
I'm not just doing my normal insulting Tom as a friend.
No, you know what? Beautiful place, amazing roads to ride, and my views on the bike have slightly mellowed, I think, as I get to know the bike a bit better, and especially on these roads, I just feel sorry for Tom and his sore bum.
Graham,
Yes, Tom. Darling.
did you not just say you were taking us somewhere really cool and exciting?
So, we may just be.
We're in a trade. We're literally in a trading estate.
Yes, but anybody that's in the know, would know what the company Equip Outdoor Technologies do.
Well,
Behind that
they
company
do
sits the
wrap,
brands Rab, we all know Rab, sleeping bags, down jackets, all that kind of stuff, and low alpine, isn't it? Low alpine?
Yeah.
Alpine, yes, rucksacks and stuff. So, I brought you here for a very special reason, which you'll find out more about in a minute, and to find out about all the rad sleeping bags.
So instead of some history museum trip, we've got a factory how it's made trip.
Who let Graham do
right,
this
so
trip again?
How long have we... Right, we're in the equipment showroom at RAD. This is Jim, who's the marketing director here, and obviously with Sam. Now we're going to go and have a look at some of the factory stuff in a minute, but before we do that, I'm going to ask Sam to take the camera off of Tom, get Tom to come and sit here.
Oh yeah.
So I want to talk about Tom and camping. Last season, when I took Tom on to Dunlop, where he really didn't like camping at all, and just generally, you're not a fan of camping at all. But
I used to be.
okay, but explain. There's a very specific reason why. I know you feel uncomfortable talking about it a little bit, but
Because I'm rather larger than I used to be. It becomes quite uncomfortable, mostly because I get cold at night. So I don't sleep very well because I get very cold. Because I can sometimes do up a sleeping bag, but it's then so stretched thin over, there's no kind of air pockets, and it's just very, and then I feel just like I'm like this the whole time. So I tend to have to just like put it on top of me like a blanket, and I get really cold. And then you wake up in the morning and you're all happy, and that annoys me because I've been cold and haven't slept well.
and I find it very amusing that you're unhappy.
Yeah, so I don't like camping anymore. And there we go.
Well, I think when you called me, Graham, we started talking about it. I think sleeping bags are very much similar to clothing. It's all about layering and how you put everything together. And there is a move from sort of the traditional mummy sleeping bags now to people wanting to sleep more comfortable. So there's a lot more quilts on the market now, and you can turn a sleeping bag into a quilt.
straight face down, Tom.
I got you. Can you see my belly?
If I'm honest with you, you look like a dead body in a black plastic bag right now.
Great. Just pull.
Do you know what this is like? This is like a caterpillar metamorphosizing into a beautiful butterfly. There we go, Tom.
There we go.
Beautiful butterfly.
It's teamwork.
We're doing stuff that humiliates you guys later too, right? Yeah. I've had a very long week. I might just go to sleep. I'm not gonna lie. I'm quite twitchy.
Should we leave you alone for a few hours, Tom? Turn the lights
I
out.
have a quick sleep.
Have we found a solution that might actually tempt you to have nights camping?
There's so much more room around here. That sleeping bag I was in packs down to that, which, I don't think that's bad at all, because it was nice and warm. And it was so much more room than mummy sleeping bags. It's so much more comfy. I think that's probably good.
So, my friend Andrew, who has also been on Adventure Bike TV on a Scotland trip, had to ring me and then send me a message because I didn't answer the phone. It was on his bike outside a shop, and to cut a very long story short, this guy came out in his late 60s, was admiring Andrew's motorcycle, and went into a long kind of story about why he couldn't ride anymore, about how much he missed it, he missed this, and he missed that. And Andrew was talking about his bike, and he said, you know what, talk about the things you love about motorbiking. My friend's gone a stage further and it makes a TV show called Adventure Bike TV. And this guy went, he's not called Graham Hoskins, is he? Yes! Yes!
This long short story wasn't short, it was pretty long.
And it was basically
about
how famous am I?
So just now we've got this late evening sunshine just going down over the hills behind me. Oh, this is beautiful. This is what motorbiking is about. And there'll be more from Tom, Sam and me as we go on Tales from the Trails throughout the rest of the series.
So we thought we'd have another crack at Motorbike Olympics, and obviously it went a lot better this time than it did last time. And
Why was that?
Well, because I'm in it. Oh, God. And, I'm the only one who didn't fall, so I don't know.
So we find ourselves back at Sweetland, where last year we all took part in the Motorcycle Olympics. But if we're going to be 100% honest with ourselves, it was 120% an utter, unmitigated disaster.
Yeah, if you did watch it last year, there is no denying how god-awful it was. We had people who brought bikes that didn't even start. Graham.
Yep.
People might have cheated, maybe me. And we had bikes which fell apart halfway through. Poor Bruce, he might still be up here, I'm not sure.
It looked pretty bad, so there was no watching.
But also, the rain was so torrential, we had to simplify a lot of the trials as well. So it just wasn't the segment that we wanted it to be.
No, a million miles away from what we wanted it to be. But for Charlie and for Lara and for anybody else who didn't watch it last year, the rules are pretty simple. We run 4 different trials. It's not about going fast. It's about keeping your feet up and completing the trial. And then there's a final event at the end. And completely differently to last year, because we made such a hash of it last year, we're buying our own bikes.
You can't be trusted.
Can't be trusted.
No, he couldn't be trusted.
Well,
I brought my own.
It was.
I'm not sure you could be trusted either, seeing as you cheated.
The Welsh thing, Charlie.
Oh, it's
I
a
can't
Welsh thing.
deny it.
Okay.
All I want to say is my bike was running when I bought it, and then that's all I want to say on that. So we're not getting our own bikes. We have 4 bikes provided for us, and we're going to take turns riding the bikes across our 4 trials.
Ooh.
Oh, that's different.
So
Oh no.
I have
You guys
here.
were going to lumber me with the KTM because it's not something I haven't ridden a KTM since, well, when we did Long Way Round in 2004.
Oh, okay.
You literally not put your leg across a KTM.
Well, they kind of let us down, so in Long Way Round. So
Remember.
It's another Motorbike TV
that's
first.
another story.
Yes.
You know.
Exclusive.
Anyway.
KTM buffing.
So
Yeah.
for the first round, round 1, Charlie will be on the CCM.
Oh.
I will be on the Sinis. Christy will be on the KTM, and Lara is going to be on the Sinis. No, sorry,
I'll be on the Himalayan.
on the Himalayan.
On the Himalayan.
Oh, what? Sorry, Himalayan, leaving you all out there.
Okay, well I am starting on the trusty, Himalayan, the Royal Enfield Himalayan. So it's 400cc, a massive 23 horsepower, and it's a modern classic. So it's about 200 kilograms, but I think weight's going to play an advantage. It's going to stick. It's going to be good traction, and it's not got a ridiculous amount of horsepower to kind of spin up the back wheel. So I'm actually really looking forward to riding it. The Royal Enfield have been producing bikes for over 120 years, so I reckon I'm on a good steed.
Well, I've been for this challenge of the Olympics. I've always wanted to be in the Olympics, and finally I am. But I've been. I'm going to ride the CCM first, and this is the Maverick. It's funny with. I'm not sure about the history of CCM. They've been sold and changed and all that kind of stuff. But the guts have always been fairly similar. And they're slightly old school in the way they build them. They're not high tech. They've got a nice big thumping 600 engine. So I'm keen to ride it. I haven't ridden this one. And you know, one of the things about the CCMs is that they look good. And I like that. You know, it would fit very nicely in my restaurant that I'm part of, you know, the Bike Shed up in Yorkshire, up in Shoreditch. So let's see what happens. But, you know, there's some fierce competition here, and I'm worried.
So I think about 3 years ago, we did a little adventure, 125 around Wales with Tom and Sam and I. And I was on a Sinis Terrain 125, which I thought was fabulous. It was a do anything, go anywhere bike. And this is now the Supermoto XE. As you can see, it's not a Supermoto. It is designed as an off-road bike. I think it's going to be actually a really, really good bike.
So I've got the KTM 890 Adventure R, and as you can see, it's a bit of a beast. It's the biggest bike here. It's 104 brake horse, and I really don't know whether I'm excited to get on it and get it done straight away, or whether I would have preferred something a little bit smaller to start. We'll see. All in all, though, I'm really excited to get on this bike.
So now you know which bikes we've got. Join us next time to see them in action.
And be under no illusion, this year they were much harder challenges and actually some injuries.
Some of us got through without any issues.
Oh, you didn't drop your bike then, did you?
Okay, all right, guys. So listen, thank you very much for tuning in and thanks for watching the show. We truly, truly enjoyed making it. Tune in next week for Lara's rest of her race and see what happens there. And then as well, I get introduced to an old friend. So listen, ride safe, rubber side down, and all that kind of rubbish.
See you next time.